I want to thank everyone in the Sembrich community for watching this. Indeed, I'm very excited to celebrate 250 years of Beethoven with one of my favorite piano sonatas, the Opus 31, number 3 in E-flat major. Beethoven was the first major composer to always think of himself as an artist, as a creator. He always wrote for the future. He wrote for all eternity. The Sonata Opus 31, number 3 is a brilliant four-movement work with no real slow movement, and yet it is not the severe Beethoven one might expect, but rather he opens with a question. And then he seems to answer with another question. And still, there's a sense of mystery. We don't know where we are or where we are going. Oh. Only to come back to the question. But what's different here is the register. And that's where these piano sonatas are all so wonderful to play. They're like miniature symphonies. I could orchestrate this. When it first happens, I imagine a beautiful solo oboe over some strings. Or it could be a French horn. And notice that motive happens twice. When I'm playing it the second time, I'm already contemplating the question that I just asked. When it's up here, to have that same tender, loving quality, it has to be the flute. Definitely the flute, because the oboe would be just a tad too strident. So moving right along, we get the question and the answer. Notice the elegance, the charm. Oh, didn't see that one coming. Wow. He surprises us. Here we see Beethoven was a great pianist, and we also see evidence of that Mozartian perfection in the writing. In the second theme, we have a continuation of that Mozartian perfection. But then he does this. So we can also see that Beethoven has a sense of humor. That is, when he wants to. Then we get this. Oh my goodness, he could certainly be a gentleman. The moments are few and far between when Beethoven could be a real gentleman, but oh my goodness, that is one of them. Wow. And then, in his humor, he pretends to be lost. There's a cadenza-like passage, and where am I? I don't know, where am I? Where am I? I'm lost. Oh, here we go. So there we have it. One of my favorite moments is at the end of the exposition. He states something 3 times emphatically exactly the same. No composer before or after Beethoven could do such a thing. It would be kind of boring. So Beethoven does 3 times. Okay. That could be both positive and I told you to do this. I told you to do this. I told you to do this. Well, that sounds kind of negative. But have you ever been at one of those parties and the MC says, it's a positive thing. Is everyone having fun? Again. Is everyone having a good time? I don't hear you. Is everyone having a good time? Yeah! Okay. So it's more like that, because we see that this movement is about genuine happiness. But there's one hallmark trait that only Beethoven does. People before him and even after didn't do it. It's so unnatural. When you have a crescendo and 3 forzandos, we're going to be forte at the end of it. This is what you would expect. So that passage here is, but that's not what Beethoven writes. He writes loud, 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 soft. It is the most unnatural thing ever, but it's so great and magnificent. He does it everywhere. If it's only for that reason, to watch this or listen to this sonata, wow, that's a great reason. So here's what he really does. Loud, loud, soft. That's what he writes. Unbelievable. Another one of my favorite places, the onset of the development, because we have the miracle of thematic transformation. Okay, this loving theme, let's listen, it's going to transform into something very different. Oh my God, very different. It actually sounds like the severe Beethoven we expect. It's even ugly, even scary. Is that what's going to happen? Are we finally going to get that severe, scary Beethoven? Not really. Here's what happens. For me, it's like this. I remember flying into Tampa Bay on tour, and it was a rocky flight to begin with. So the pilot comes on and says what he said 1,000 times. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are about to descend into the Orlando International Airport. And everyone goes, oh. And there's a moment of silence. And then he says, just kidding. Who does that? Well, actually, Beethoven does that right here. Let's listen. Just kidding. And the rest of the development has this charming, mysterious nature, and the rest of the movement, actually. Unbelievable. The second movement is not the typical adagio or andante. It's a scherzo, an animated scherzo in 2/4. Whoever heard of a scherzo in 2/4? Usually they're in 3, because the scherzo originates from the minuet. It's sped up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. By the time Chopin comes along, it's in 1, presto. But there's no way you can divide 2 into 3 and get a whole number. Beethoven does it, and it's just magnificent to hear, and you'll hear that in the next video. And then we get the golden minuet, I call it, with golden singing tone, but moreover the last minuet that Beethoven would ever write in the genre, in the traditional sense. And then the wild presto tarantella finale, where Beethoven is so wacky, having so much fun. Every time he starts the theme, he starts it twice. Not kidding. And the virtuosity is unprecedented, and it gets so wild and wacky. Have you ever been at one of those parties? Everyone's having so much fun, it almost gets dangerous. Well, Beethoven takes us right to that precipice, right here, in the last movement. And we don't go over the cliff, but we go right to the edge of it, and we see everything before our eyes. It's unbelievable. And he keeps us guessing until the very last note. So there it be, one of my favorite sonatas, the Opus 31 number 3 in E flat major. On a personal note, I thought I'd mention this tie I'm wearing. I chose because for me, it matches the color of the Sembrich building. And I want to say that in our next video, I will perform the complete Sonata Opus 31 number 3 in E flat major in its entirety, and to everybody in the Sembrich community and beyond, thank you for listening.